Topic 1. Definition of terms. Data. Information in formalized manner suitable for communication, interpretation, and processing by computer system. Raw data refers to unprocessed data. For document, information imprinted for convenience to one or more than one person. In paper-based record management, document defines smallest unit for filing refer to computer files. Record. Recorded information in document regardless in form by organization. Useful in operation of the organization. Provide evidence of a business transaction. Document with inventory value. For the record center, adapter for the low-cost storage, maintenance, and communication of semi-current record pending their unlimited disposal. For the archive, will normally be preserved in an archival repository, part of a building in which archives are preserved and made available for consultation, also known as an archive. Character of office record. Single paper taken out of its context. It's not a complex record. Seen together, they tell a complete story. For the information, something can lead to knowledge regardless medium of its conveyance to one or more person. Knowledge derives information and experience that give meaning, reference in future use. Public records. Create, receive, maintained in any public sector agency. For private records, created by non-governmental organizations, individuals relating private and public affairs. Evidence. There is 4 types of evidence. The first one is permanent, cannot be used as evidence. Record keeps on changing. Different records are different parties to illustrate conflicting points of view. The second is value as official source of information. Record should be authority, can be considered to be true, official, or report that have validity. The third is unique, which not be repeatable in the same time at the same place for the same action. And lastly, authentic, should be made in the original document by not removing or deleting the existing. Characteristic of the official record is collective identity and primary source material.
Chapter 2. The field of records management. The definition of record management is the practice of identifying, classifying, archiving, preserving, and sometimes destroying records. A record is often identified strongly by the document. A record can either be tangible object or digital information which has value to an organization. The ISO defines records as information created, received, and maintained as evidence and information by an organization or person in pursuance of legal obligations or in the transactions of business. What are filing and retrieval? Filing is the action of arranging records in a predetermined sequence. Retrieval, the process of finding records or information and always using alphabetic indexing rules in order to make the filing accurate. What is records control? The set of procedure used to make filing and retrieval reliable and systematic process. To control records, user must know why records are kept and which phase records pass through from creation to disposition. The person responsible for the records management program is usually the record manager. records are kept and used because they have administrative value, fiscal value, legal value, and historical value. Records need to be managed to reduce the volume of records, improve storage and retrieval systems, increase efficiency of records processing, identifying and protect vital records, meet requirements, protect the organizations, customer, personnel, and stockholders, improve productivity, cut costs, and improve profits. There are 4 categories of records, which is vital, important, useful, and non-essential. These records are life cycle concept. The first one is creation. Records are created inside a business through dictation, handwritten draft, voicemail, record, electronic mail, email, or by using computers and word processors. The second one is distribution. To be useful, records must be distributed to persons requiring the data. Number 3. Use. Records are used for making and documenting decisions, for answering questions, for reference, for tax or legal reasons. Number 4. Maintenance. Filing and retrieving records occur during the maintenance phase. And the last one, dispositions. Records are no longer frequent use, are kept in long-term storage, discarded, or destroyed. There are 3 records accessibility, which is active record, inactive record, and long-term record. For active record, it is used frequently, 3 or more times a month. For inactive record, used less than 15 times a year. Long-term record, kept legal or historical purposes and are stored indefinitely or for specific period of time as archives. There are 2 types of records transfer, which is perpetual transfer method and periodic. For perpetual transfer method, records are continuously transferred from active storage to inactive storage when no longer needed for reference. Periodic, a method of transferring active record at the end of a stated period of time, usually 1 year, to inactive storage.
Chapter 3, Managing Current Records. There is a register that has been divided into 8, which is function, centralized and decentralized, document processing in mail room, which is mail management, component, element in operating mail room operation, and independent generated document. So, the registry function is to control over the records, disseminate and receiving all letters, monitor and ensure all movement is recorded, ensures and actions to be taken is brought to the attention of the staff, keeps track of recording time cycle, which is update list of files, and physically separate files. So centralized, the control comes from one location, which is record staff, allocated space, and records equipment and supplies. The advantages is record will not be duplicated, less manpower, and confidential record can be kept safely. Decentralized advantages is easy access, faster retrieval information helping in decision making, less labor cost, less expensive equipment. Document processing in mail room are divided into 2, which is correspondence receive and dispatch. Correspondence were divided into 2, which is include mail that may be received or dispatched, other forms of communication, and other. So include mail that may be dispatched or received is by hand, private courier service, government's internal mail system, and postal service. While other forms of communication is telegram and telex, fax, email, and internet. The order is receiving and opening, sorting, registering, associating, preparing, dispatching, and filing. There is also a receipt of inward correspondence, which is the procedure is first open the document, second stamping date of receipt, third assign serial number, fourth attach all enclosure, and fifth classify and manage confidential document. provides vital services, and there is a flow of mail, which is the flow of mail, documents, file, and other paperwork must maintain, which is outside to office within the debt, office to office within the building or area service, or office within department or agency to outside. So in company there is a file room, file management, and elements in operating mail room are divided into 4, which is planning, organizing, coordinating, and directing. Planning is where you conduct survey where and when mail are delivered, time allocated for complete pickup and delivery, workflow pattern, plan proper mail processing working. Organizing is systematic use for resources. Coordinating is coordinating activities of more than one registry. Budgeting is budget forecast. Mailing operation is where divided into 1, and which is mail manager, that is divided by 2, which is mail operation and delivery operations. And finally, internal generated document that has been divided into 6, which is reports, directives, forms, memoranda, minutes of meetings, and finally draft.
Continue to managing current records. So proceed with register inward correspondent. So we have register and in register. So in register is a document, usually a volume in which regular entry of data is made. And in register, it is a traditional system of document registration involved the entry into inward correspondence registry and also called an in register. Okay. Next, we go to the initial information for register. So there are, first one, we must have the serial number assigned to the correspondence, and next we have the date of correspondence and receipt. Okay. Next is security classification. Next, the name and agency of the sender, and also reference quote by the sender, and the subject of the correspondence, and lastly number and nature of any enclosure. Okay, proceed to the circulation of correspondence. So we have top and down. So top and down is correspondence is sent to a senior officer or director of the agencies whom decide what action to be taken. And next we have bottom to up. So the correspondence is to send directly to the action officer for approval. Okay. So continue to the register of outward correspondence. So it gained approval at appropriate level, and there are few standing instruction, and that is the typing should be clearly written, and information provided should include name, and any security or private making, the agency and address filing, reference, the name of the intended signatory, and the number of copies required. So the computer operator and typist should use agency letterhead for outward correspondence and should follow standard rules. And after letter has been checked, all the copies will be sent to the registry together with the inward correspondence, internal minutes, draft, and the relevant files. A record copy of every internal generated document should be sent for filing. Okay, so register outward correspondence must consist the date of the correspondent and the dispatch, any security classification, the name and the institution or agency of the address, the main file reference of other files on which copy have been placed, the subject of correspondence if required, and number and nature of any enclosures. Next is subject classification. So subject file classification it identified by groups, types, categories, location, organization, and things. So there are two categories in subject classification system, and they are administrative files and operational files. So there are few characteristics of good classification systems, and they are simple, logically arranged by groups of related subject, effective, and economy. So what are the benefits of a good subject file classification? And there is an aid to service, and an aid to research, an aid to documentation, an aid to preservation, an aid to disposal, an aid to economy, and aid to personnel. So there are three main systems that are used. They are alphabetical system, function and activity systems, and administration. So continue to the chapter 3, managing records. Next we go to the file management room. So the function is to be filing the records, and next to verify the records to be filed, and issuing the records in the form of files. Next, controlling the location of the issued files, operating a keep in view KIV system, and maintaining the records physically and finding the records demand. So the file room aspect needs to be clean and neat, and flat surface should be clean and clear of material except while operation is being performed. And the file cabinets or modular shelf files base must be kept orderly, charged out, and other control guides must be properly maintained. So next we go to the file format. A file is a folder that keeps enclosed together in some order or another. So there are three components for the physical paper file, and that's one is firstly a cover to protect the contents, and next is the contents that includes inward correspondence, internally generated documents, and copies of outward correspondence. Next is the security tag. The file format must reflect the importance of three stages of record management, and that is file creation, file use and maintenance, and file disposition. So next we go to filing the records. There are two records. And there is record to be filed, and records not to be filed. So records to be filed must consist inward correspondence in all its forms. Next, internal minutes relating to the correspondence, and next is copies of outward correspondence, and lastly internal generate administrative. So records that not to be filed is rough draft, copies of correspondence, and ephemera. Next we go to the open new files. So a new file should be opened when a new subject arises. Next, relevant documents need to be filed. An existing subject subdivides into new discrete subject, and next, new subject needs new files or subfile. Rules for new file. First one is each file must be related to single subject. Second, each file should have title that describe its content precisely. Third, Each file should be classified and coded. Fourth, each file should be documented. And lastly, each file location must be recorded. Files can be subdivided into three parts: parts of files, subfiles, continuation files. So how are we giving files title? File title should be clear and precise. Next must be numbered and also known as keyword. So how filing is being processed? First step is must be sorted by file number into two groups. Next is process receipt paper every day for filing. Next, ensure the attachment remaining with the covering. Number 4, the paper will now be ready for sorting. Number 5, paper must be clean and pre-drilled and in classification order. And 6, file the paper in chronological order. 7, number the paper to guarantee maintenance. And lastly, number 8 is list the detail of paper in blue and red on the minute sheet. Next is closing files. Why we have to close the files is because files are not allowed to become thick or be kept for use too long, and the reason is they are difficult to handle and can be risk of damage. Next is content papers no longer required, and the closure of files should be formally documented to ensure no additional info, and a size of 1 inch is reasonable limit for treasure tag files, and the word close should be written and bold letter across the front cover. Next we go to the file operating pointer. Must do each day's filing files and papers. Check the file record against the content of the files to prevent misfiling. Next is strict chronological sequence and do not separate together. Next is do not separate attachment. Next is do each day KIVs, and do not overload the file cover. Create new volumes, and the first step in training a new employee to sort document and correspondence, and never allow an untrained file clerk to insert into the file unless supervised closely during the training period. So next, lastly, file containers. Do not allow too much space for expansion in cabinet shelf. Next, do not allow cabinet shelf become crowded. Next, provide sufficient files guide. Label the file cabinets and drawers and the file shelf. And next, label each row of cabinet and drawers and the file shelf and base. Label each row of cabinet and shelving. Also keep the transfer of domain files up to date, and maintaining a follow-up of outstanding charged out files.
Chapter 4: Alphabetic Storage and Retrieval. Indexing is the mental process of determining the filing segment by which a record is to be stored. A filing segment contains units. Coding: the physical process of marking the indexing unit in the filing segment to indicate the order in which they are considered when filing. These are the rules of coding. Separate the unit name diagonal lines. Underline the key unit. Write number above the remaining units to indicate their rank in correct filing order. Sometimes names are rewritten on a record in indexing order. That is, the filing units are written in the order that they are considered for filing purposes. These are the rules for indexing. Rule number 1. Order on filing unit. Personal name indexing order. Rule number 2. minor words and symbol in business name. Rule number 3, punctuation and possessive. Rule number 4, single letters and abbreviations. Rule number 5, titles and suffixes. Rule number 6, prefix, article and particles. And lastly, rule number 7, numbers in business name. Examining alphabetic card. For cards, it is used for storing information that is referenced often. It provides the durability to withstand frequent handling, often called a unit record or unitized record because it contains one main item or piece of information. Next is guides, a file divider with project in metal or plastic tab used to separate and identify a section of the file. It is heavier than a card for heavily use. Next one is tabs, projection beyond the top of the main body of guide which identifying label attached and easily visible when the file is scanned. Tab guide is the width that lab occupies in relation to the total of the guide. Tab position is the location of the tab on the guide. Next is captions, the content identifying information on labels either written, typed or printed. Next is a cross-reference. It shows alternate name for record, shows the location of the record.
Alphabetic storage and retrieval. Alphabetic correspondence filing is a collection of letters, memorandums, and related documents received or written arranged in alphabetic order. The first is geographic method or filing. It is storing individual, organization, or project. Encyclopedic arrangement. Records are arranged in alphabetic order. It is contain major division or subdivision, and it also uses letter guide plan or location name. The second is subject method of filing. It is classifying, coding, and filing records first by subject and then by individual, organization, or project. Correspondent filing equipment. It is common type of manual filing equipment. The first is top access file storage. Equipment contain record stored vertically on edge and dropped into storage and retrieval. For example, is vertical file cabinet. Total record storage supplies and equipment. Cost or benefit analysis is a process of determining the relative advantage and disadvantage of alternative solution to a problem. Top file. Open reference file that provide instant record availability. No file drawers to open. Close. No stopping and stretching. Correspondent filing supplies. The guide mark the alphabetic section of the filing system. Folder papers are placed in folder that protect them and keep them upright and accessible. Alphabetic guide arranged drawer. Primary guide, it is placed in the first position, left to right in the drawer. Secondary guide, subdivision of the primary guide placed next position to the right of the primary guide. Lastly, filing correspondent, the first is inspecting, checking to see record has been realized in a proper manner for filing, and indexing is determining the filing segment of each record.
Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Nurhindun binti Pawanteh, and I will be doing the presentation about my map chapter 5. So chapter 5 is about subject, numeric, and geographic storage and retrieval. So inside we have the first one, we have numeric, records management. Numeric is a filing method of arranging records by number, and numeric filing need records and must have a unique number, and each number assigned for some meaning. And also Numeric filing prevents record to be accessed by unauthorized person. Okay, next we go to the consecutive numbering method. So consecutively numbered records are arranged in ascending number order, lowest to highest, and also known as serial, sequential, and straight number. Okay, next we go to the terminal digit and middle digit number. So this method are used in organization and with at least 10,000 files, manual filing method. So we go to the first one, terminal digit. So terminal digit is a method of numeric filing that use the last 2 or 3 digits of each number and read from right to left, and group of digit as classified as primary, secondary, and tertiary. So next we have middle digit. It's numeric filing that use the middle 2 or 3 digits, read middle to left to right, and also we have primary, secondary, and tertiary. Okay, next we go to the chronology filing. So this is a method of numeric filing system which is record is filed in sequence according to date, and its record are placed in reverse date order within the file folder. So we proceed to the geographic records management. So geographic filing method is the filing segment in geographic is a method of storing and retrieving records in alphabetical order by location of an individual, an organization, or a project. So there are 4 main units in geographic filing, and there are country name, state name, city name, and correspondence name. Okay, inside geographic filing, there are 2 file arrangement, and that is dictionary arrangement and encyclopedic arrangement. So what are dictionary arrangement? It is an arrangement of record in alphabetic order A to Z by specific subject, and encyclopedic is the alphabetic arrange is when primary subjects and subdivision are arranged in alphabetic order. Next we go to the subject code. So subject code is a letter that represents the subjects are used, and it consists 2 or 3 letters representing the long subject. Also lastly, this method filing by 6 stages of procedure. There is 1 is inspecting, 2nd is indexing, 3rd coding, 4th preparing cross-reference, 5 sorting, and lastly filing procedures.